Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we have another mechanical keyboard review for you guys. This one's really unique, and I think it only has one other competitor in its space right now, and this is the Hexgears Impulse full-size mechanical keyboard. This thing is absolutely massive. You can see that it doesn't even fit all in the camera, but it is a full-size hot swappable mechanical keyboard with firmware for per key editing inside the keyboard itself. Alongside that, it records macros, it has a number pad, arrow keys, all the effects, and it comes with PBT put-in keycaps. So very unique, very different. Not used to this kind of keyboard that's packed full of features like this that you don't see on other ones, but we'll jump into the what's in the box right now. So in the box you get your keycap puller, and it's a wire keycap puller. Not gonna have to worry about scratching any of those switches not gonna have to worry about scratching any of those keycaps. You have a switch puller because it is hot swappable, but I never really do recommend you use these stock switch pullers. Unless it's your only hot swappable keyboard, then go for it, but this is full size. There's 104 switches. You're gonna want something that's a little bit more ergonomically friendly, and we recommend this like green anti-static puller for PCBs. I'll link that down below, but it's super convenient to use, and you have a better grip on it, and your switches won't just go flying everywhere when you're swapping them out. Alongside this, we have a warranty card, and then of course we have instructions as well, and you'll want those instructions because sublegends on these keycaps are pretty low contrast. All right, so first is build quality. On the back of the keyboard, you see that we have two dual angle adjustable kickstands. They're not really rubberized, but the bottom, once you flip them out, they are, when they're flat, they're not really, so you may have to worry about your keyboard slipping around a little bit, only in its most flat angle. With the kickstands up, it does have extra rubber on it for that anti-slip effect. We have two very large rubber pads at the very bottom. And then another thing you notice is that the cable is non-detachable right here. There's a very small routing port, but it only goes out up top. It doesn't really have cable channels to go to the right or to the left, and I think that would have been an additional benefit if they were to add that, but it only goes up, and it is braided and very thin, so it's a lot easier to manage, unlike some of those really thick cables. So you can cable manage this quite easily if you wanted to. On the side, we see that it does have floating style keycaps as well, and this entire rounded top plate is made out of aluminum. This plastic clear bit is actually where the rim lighting shows through and diffuses itself, and the bottom case is made of plastic. So 3 different layers on this keyboard. And the logo, if this keyboard is on your desk facing me like so, then the logo is on the top left here. It's quite obtrusive, it's quite large, but this part faces your monitor or your PC or your laptop, so no one else is really going to see it except you, and only if you're looking. The keycaps are double shot PBT OEM, and they're put-in keycaps. So what if you've never used put-in keycaps or seen them before, they really encourage that light show on your desk, meant for keyboards with good RGB effects with really bright lights. And that's because the walls are made of a thinner material to let the light diffuse through better, whereas the tops are made of a thicker material so that they're oil resistant and they don't wear and tear over time as you're using your keyboard. The legends lets light shine through as well, and the legends are pretty basic. They are a little separated in the letters that connect, such as O, B, Q, so very basic legends, but putting keycaps on a stock keyboard is actually a pretty unique idea, and I think it really brings out what this keyboard has going for it, and that's the RGB lighting. But we'll go on about RGB lighting in a bit. We're gonna go on to the switches now. These switches are also quite unique as well. They are Kailh box brown. And box switches, they are dustproof and waterproof. If you're spilling water or eating chips and there's some dust nearby, you don't have to worry about them getting inside your switches. However, just don't do that because your keyboard will get nasty and messy and be pretty gross. So don't do that. But we have the Kailh box browns. They're a tactile switch. They're a box switch, so dustproof and waterproof, and they're quite scratchy, I would say, due to their box design. Now with box switches, you can't really lube them because there's the mechanism in them where they sort of just self-clean themselves. Alongside with the box brown switch, the other option you get is the box white switch. And that is a clicky switch that uses a click bar mechanism. For the Kailh switch sounds that we did a video on, I'll leave it right here. But Kailh box white switches are really clicky, but unlike Cherry MX Blues or Gateron Blues, they have a more crispy, more clean click because of that click bar. They click when you press down, and then when it bounces back up, it clicks as well. So it's a very different feeling than what you might be used to if you've never used a click bar switch before. Now, if you don't like any of those options, the Kailh box browns or the Kailh box whites, this keyboard is entirely hot swappable. The sockets are 3 pins, so that if you do want to use 5-pin switches, you'll have to clip those 2 plastic legs on the side with either flush cutters, nail cutters, whatever. It's actually pretty easy, except then you can't use your switches for PCB mounted boards anymore. We have entire guides on things like that down below in our blog, so make sure you check that out if you don't really know the difference between 3-pin versus 5-pin switches and things like that. But fully hot swappable, full size, 104 keys. The only other keyboard I know that's full size and hot swappable is the GMMK full size mechanical keyboard. The stabilizers are Cherry style, plate mounted as usual. They have little rattle and wobble, and they're colored yellow when you take the keycaps off, so they're pretty cool. But I would say they definitely need some lubing, and clipping would really help them as well, improve their sound. And for a guide on that, I'll link that down below as well as to our mods video right here to learn more about some of those mods that you can do to make your keyboard sound and feel better. Full sound test at the end, timestamps are down below. You can skip forward, you can skip back, do whatever, press that like button, let's move on. In terms of portability, I probably wouldn't be traveling anywhere with this keyboard. One, it's absolutely massive. It has extra forehead space for the branding and all the rim lighting. And 2, it doesn't have a detachable wire. So this is the kind of keyboard that I would keep on my desk pretty much all the time. I would rotate it when I play games, and I would rotate it back when I'm working, typing numbers. It's a great keyboard if you love RGB lights, you need a numpad, and you love hot swap. Okay, on to the RGB lights. It has ring lighting around the perimeter where that white plastic is, and you can adjust that. It's by default to the rainbow spectrum cycling one, but you can change that using the many different button key combinations that are all in the instructions. Actually, it's quite complicated, but you can change a lot of things. So you can change the rim lighting separately, and then you can do per key RGB lighting by pressing FN and backspace. And then each key you press, it just changes the color until you get to a color that you really like, and that's it. Alongside this, it can also record macros. It has Windows log. It has secondary media functions on the top function row. I think it's really impressive for a keyboard. I'm gonna go through all the RGB light, at least the preset effects right now. pretty cool, right? So it does take some time to get used to, but once you get used to it, then you're like, okay, I got this. Or once you settle on an effect that you like, you can just forget all those things and just leave it the way it is. But you also see that the putting keycaps really accents the RGB lighting as well. And one complaint that I do have about this keyboard is that the sublegends are very low contrast. They're difficult to see, especially in dim lights. They are not shine through, and I believe they will wear off over time if you're using your keyboard very often. But it is a full-size layout, so you can change the keycaps. It's standard, but then you have to remember what the sublegends are and what those functions are. All right, time for a full sound test. This is the Hexgears Impulse with Kailh box browns. All right, that was a sound test. It's probably the first Kailh box brown sound test on our entire channel. It's a very different kind of keyboard. For me personally, it's a little bit too big and it's just very bulky, but I know there are people out there who have been looking for a full-size Hotswap and you can't find it, or there's a GMMK full-size, but it's not your thing. This is another option to look at. It's available on Amazon, which is linked down below, and it's also available on the Kono store, which is also linked down below as well as all those cool resources and links that I talked about. But if you're interested in more hot-swappable mechanical keyboards, check out this playlist here. And then if you're interested in the mods to make your keyboard sound and feel better, click here and subscribe here if you want to. Stay tuned very soon for an exciting video later this weekend. And I'll see you in the next one.